Building strong readers start with small steps, and you are already on the right path. Hello parents! If you've ever worried about when your child will start reading independently or felt unsure about the right way to support them, you are not alone. At NewAge Preschool, we believe every child blossoms at their own pace. Today, Mrs. Akshitha B.Raj, Associate Director of NewAge Preschools, will share clear, research-backed steps to empower your child's reading journey with confidence.
So we've just had parents who walked into our PTCs and they've given us their perspective about how the child's been engaging in reading. And I would today like to say that we've had largely two kinds of parents. One who say it's okay, my child will figure it out by the time they're in grade 1, which is basically at the age of 6 or 7. And the other set who are saying, okay, I'm ready to help, but how do I do it?
Interesting. Is the belief that reading starts at 6 or 7 years supported by research?
I would just like to, bring in some technical evidence, like research-backed evidence. The US Department for Education says a child usually reads by the time they're 6 or 7 years. And there's also been a reading panel that's also based out of the US. They also suggest that most kids will do it at 6, 7, but there can be a lot of kids who pick it up by the ages 4 to 5. But what I would actually like to quote here is, this doesn't happen naturally, and this is said by the science of reading itself, and we see it in school, unless instruction comes in, it is not a very natural process for any child to kind of pick up a book at 3 or 4 and say, I'm going to read this by myself. So independent reading at that age requires instructions, and that's exactly where a school as well as a parent come in collaboratively to help a child to start their reading journey.
So, according to you, what essential skills should a child develop before they can pick up a book and read independently?
There are certain few checkpoints. I think you as a parent should make sure that your child, is ready to pick up before picking up a book. So yes, the first point being the phonemic awareness, and I think your child should know the basic sounds of most letters in the English alphabet. That's the first thing to make sure of. The second would be the basic sight words, like the first list of easy sight words that they spot, which is a very common word in most books. It could be words like are, you, is, in, of. So they should know that these words are something that they can read by just seeing, right? So that's the whole point of understanding sight words. The next would be following instructions in a language and also being able to make basic conversation in that language. So, this mainly leads on to the point where the child comprehends what they're reading. If they're reading a 4-5 word simple sentence, they should be able to comprehend what they're actually reading. So if they're able to converse and understand, language when they're speaking, that will happen when they read these simple sentences. And moving forward, the next would be the punctuation, basic punctuation understanding, which could be the full stop, the exclamation and the question mark. So these, they will see in books, though they're smaller sentences, because there's a lot of interesting and engaging content in a book to keep the child engaged. So they will be seeing these punctuation marks. So it will help them to comprehend that sentence even better. The other one is spacing between words, so they know where to pause. Otherwise they're just reading the whole sentence as, probably one word and don't know where to stop and kind of finish that word and then go to the next word. So these are a few of the points that I think are very, very necessary to do in a school setup as well as at home when the child is, reading simple words, writing simple sentences, and then is when they're actually ready to pick up easy reading books to start independent reading.
These are wonderful insights. Once these skills are developed, how can parents actively support their child's reading journey at home?
To actually give you more insight into how you as a parent can help your child, because the previous post was more on how your child is ready or not and then to help. but here you're actually, involving in the reading process of the child. And let's begin. So the first point would be to use the pointer finger while the child is reading and follow along this finger when the child reads. So you really have to reinitiate if the child keeps forgetting and takes its hand back, because once they follow using the index, it's the best thing. Like, they will not lose sight of the next word, and the sentence reading happens in a better way. So the first would be to use a pointer to kind of follow through each word. And the next would be to make sure that they read aloud. So the first step when they're reading is not silent reading but read aloud, simply because anyone, the guardian or the parent who's assisting, would be able to correct the child, when they're kind of going off track. So you could also do a read aloud together. Like, your child is reading a word that's easy for the child to read, and the next word is probably a sight word that, they've been struggling with. Like, maybe it's the word here, and they're still saying because it's phonetically, E says 𝒓. So you can actually come in there and say, you can read that word aloud. So the next 2-3 times when you do that, the child starts reading that word because the familiarization happens. So reading aloud is the second point. And the next would be to intervene, which is connected to what I said, when something new comes up. So when your child is, say, 4, they basically know easy vowel words like CVC words like 𝒂𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒕𝒅, bat. So they will be able to say that, and common sight words. But when you pick up a book, there may be words which are, slightly higher in terms of age appropriacy of that book. So you can come in there and read that word for the child, and also explain that exceptional rule maybe. So there's a rule called magic E. So when the E comes in the end of a word and there's a vowel in between 2 consonants, like the word 5. So phonetically the child would start reading it as E, because I makes the sound E. So when the silent E is coming in the end, it gives more power to the vowel in between those 2. This sounds very technical, but once you start giving examples, like just showing words and saying, this is why we do this in this word, the minute the child sees a new word with this rule format, they will try to read it in the way that you teach them. So this may have not been introduced in school, but the book you pick up have it. So don't neglect that word fully. You can just explain the rule in the most simple way possible, and then the child tries to come back, maybe not the 4th or 5th time, but maybe the 10th or 11th time. It's a process. So this is how you can actually involve when there's an unfamiliar word, right? So the next is obviously the spacing. Okay, so please keep showing the child if there's a space after a word, you've got to pause and then go to the next word. So yes, I think these are some things that you can help as a parent, and continue the journey.
With these skills in place, which books would you recommend as ideal first steps into independent reading?
So I'm sitting here where I have access to the books that I want to show you all, and the first on my list would be the Bob books. There are a couple of books here, but I'm just going to pick up one book and show it to you all. These are the Bob books, and they are by Scholastic. It's a book that we use extensively in our curriculum, especially when the child is 4, and we've done all of this that we've told you, and the child is ready to pick up this book and read. And basically they come in series. So the first series is beginning readers. They actually have named it very, very aptly. It says beginning readers, emerging readers, more of emerging readers. If your child finishes that whole series, you have more books on that same level. So it's graded that way. Clear, simple text that comes in, and not more than say 3 or 4 words in one sentence. There's a clear, very, very simple illustration for that sentence. So the child kind of sees the picture and then tries to relate the word to the picture, so they also have a clue of what's coming. So it helps them to pick up the word more easily. And there are also sight words which the child has been introduced to. So these are definitely my number one on the list, the Bob books by Scholastic. So moving on, my next set of books are the funny photo phonics. simply because I've seen how our children like the humor part also in this and want to read this book because they know it's going to be fun. As the name itself suggests, they're called Funny Photo Phonics, and they're in collaboration with Blake Education and Shree Book Center. The reason I like these books are the illustration comes on one side and it's pretty colorful. So for a beginner reader, I think it's very, very engaging. And the text is pretty large, okay, the print text, and like the Bob books, 4 to 5 words, and also it's basically CVC words and a lot of familiar sight words. So if your child is 4 or 5, you can easily pick up these books and go on with them. So yeah, this is my second preference for building reading ability. So my next input for these books that your child can pick up are the Happy Phonics Stories, and this is by Jolly Kids. And this is a core made in India book, okay, and I think the reason I would quote this is the ease of access. It's available on Amazon, and I think you can easily get this sourced. You don't have to wait a lot. And the other thing is they are based on vowels, like you can pick up books for each vowel, and these vowels are highlighted in the words inside the book, right? So I'll just show you all what I mean. So if you're focusing on the vowel A, you can see how the vowel is highlighted in color. So same thing, big clear illustrations and one sentence per page. The print text is pretty large and relatable. It's very like Indian scenes, characters. So yeah, this is my next preference of reading books. And these also come in series. So yeah. Okay, moving on, we'll go to the fourth preference for reading books. This is The Flying Boot by Nelson. These also come in series like this. And very, very fun characters. Max here you can see is a very prominent character in these books by Flying Boat, and they're not core phonetics or phonics based, but why I like them is simply because the same thing, the illustrations are large, text is big, and very simple words which they can decode phonetically, and they also have a lot of sound words that come in, and also a lot of punctuation. So if your child is done reading the Bob books, I would suggest this is like the next step, right? So they also have a lot of concepts that come in, like family, opposites. So it's an integrated set of books. So your phonics, your reading ability is improving, as well as the child's awareness about a lot of other things. A more global outlook series, and not very easy to source. So you'll have to figure out how you can, get your hands on these books, but a very, very good set of books again. So my last suggestion would also mean that your child is probably more ready to read books by the time they come here, because these books are slightly for readers who have kind of understood CVC blending and they know their sight words well. And also some of the rules that I was mentioning, like the magic E, or the C and CK rule, or even the R controlled vowel. So because they do come with a little more heavier words, so like words like want, more, they're all sight words that children probably learn in their last year of preschool. So when your child is probably 5 and over, or closer to 6, they'll be more comfortable to pick up these and read. So yes, so these are the phonics readers. As the name suggests, very well done for children who've been following a phonics curriculum at school and home. And this is by Usborne, and I think they're like leaders in the market, and this series especially is very well done. You get them in a set of 20, and it's a great investment to make. So even if your child is in grade 1, or this is summer vacation, they've finished preschool, this is a set you can really, invest in. So yeah, these are my, a set of books that I would like your child to be exposed to actually get into the big school scene, and their reading ability will be there, trust me.
Thank you, Mrs. Akshitha B.Raj, for these invaluable insights. Parents, early literacy is a journey, and with the right guidance and encouragement, every child can become a confident and a joyful reader. Follow NewAge Preschool for expert tips on your child's learning journey.